Okay. Let's try now.
Okay, we'll call the June 2026 Northern Cass School Board meeting to order. Start with the board norms. All meetings will be conducted according to the best practices governing a Board of Education. All members will participate in board discussions in a respectful manner, which honors the different perspectives. All board members will equally participate in making motions, seconding motions, and voting on each motion. All meetings will abide by the policies which govern the Northern Cass School District, and all members will follow the agenda to ensure discussion is focused only on the agreed items in the approved agenda. I don't believe there was any additions to the agenda, so we would need a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Also move.
Second.
Call vote, please.
Chilbert,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Murch,
Aye.
Olson, Steffes.
Aye.
And moving into the consent agenda.
For our general fund, we have $218,760.54. Our activity fund is sitting at $456,752.69. Pot lunch is sitting at $210.32, $210,032.02. Heating and electricity, $12,739, with the electric taking up $4,453 of that, and heating $8,254, and our investment interest is $1,034.51.
Right, if there's no further questions around the consent agenda, we would need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Chilbert,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Murch,
Yes.
Olson, Steffes.
Aye.
Right. Acknowledging greatness. We have a plaque for commitment from Ms. Steffes. Years and years.
Thank you. Thank you.
So does that mean if you get reelected today, you have to start over?
Yeah, I guess you have to turn that back in. Okay. Thank you.
Brad is unable to be with us today, but we'll try and catch him next time.
Perfect.
Then we will move into administrative reports. Success.
Great, I gave you the elementary fellowship data report. There's a lot there, and so I decided this year, instead of going page by page through it for you, I kind of summarize. So if you look at your, I don't know if on there, but the elementary board report, I kind of summarized and put some highlights out for you on it. One of the things that I'm still not pleased with, every year we do what's called a healthy systems check, and third grade just cannot get their reading up. They step out of a curriculum series, second grade that's very all encompassing from kindergarten through second grade, and then we have a different program starting in third because they didn't have the same curriculum program 3 on up. And so that's identified as an area of like, what are we going to do that's different? How do we improve that? So we're very aware that that needs some improvement. They just can't seem to get to that 80% or stay there year after year. Doesn't matter the group, doesn't matter the teacher. We've tried some different things. So that is something that will be top priority this year to try to figure out how do we improve that even more. I also have taught third grade and acknowledge that we have a lot of kids coming in that are still learning to read versus reading to learn. And the curriculum shifts starting in third grade. And so that is hard. No excuses, but I believe since COVID, there's a lot of like changes in our world. Kids are coming in almost a year younger. They don't have the social skills. We're spending a lot more time on some of those things. And so therefore it is an area that I've identified, we're very aware of. We're going to try to brainstorm and figure some things out. Math is looking phenomenal. even so, Ames web data and all of our data overall has shifted. And again, that's since COVID. But it is a national norm. They're seeing it everywhere, not just in North Dakota, not just at shifts have changed. So we look really good on those triangle graphs. I mean, that is my goal, always no red or barely any red or just a tiny bit. Because I think reality tells us that there are kids that are going to struggle in life, right? And we need jobs and we need people with all backgrounds and learning style. So, that's what that's all telling you. The NDSA, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, or it's now called NDA Plus, the North Dakota State Assessment. They realized that they found an error in last year's programming and testing results. Now that's more 6 through 8 in math, but they're going to go and reevaluate and make sure that all assessment results are accurate for the 2 years. And so they're going to send out more this fall. We did send out individual learning results to all parents with their report cards end of the year. I don't know if I'm gonna have to backtrack on that and send them new. I don't know. I don't have answers for you on that. But in my board report, I did summarize highlights overall for you in all different areas. Kindergarten, we're seeing great growth outlined and revamped, you know, because a couple of years ago, kindergarten wasn't seeing great growth in math. And so they revamped and in reading. And so they revamped kind of how they introduce it and go from there. I think our intervention program's strong. We really wrap kids up early. We don't wait. We're more proactive than reactive in all of that. Math, phenomenal overall, and that's without a program. And the state is requiring us now with the science of reading, science of math, that we need to have something in place. So we'll start that process of looking for a program and what the cost will be with that. Let's see, then the other thing, I told you a little bit about NDA Plus, but I'm not going to get too excited or too worried about that. And so then way at the end is the behavior report results overall. And that's the one I feel like as an elementary principal, or you could ask Shallon this year, like that takes a lot of time and energy every day, all day. Positively though, I think we always focus on numbers and the negative, but the positive is that 82.6% of our learners had no documented behavior. And I think that's something to celebrate. And so I tried to flip that script a little bit this year before we dig in. So basically I have 62 that are my people and they get to know me very well. And they'll guide you if you need to know where Mrs. S's office is. And we try to not just do punitive, but also figure out what are those services for the families as well. They might need more supports and services. And I just watched a webinar yesterday that talked a lot about, you know, if a kid struggles in reading or kid struggles in math, what do? We teach them, right? We figure out a way to reach them. But if a kid's misbehaving, automatically, everyone says be punitive. There's got to be a consequence, right? But what if nobody's taught that kid? Nobody has taught them the social skills or the expectation. So what does that look like? And I think that we've moved a lot of proactive in that direction with having, you know, Mrs. Engelke in a position, Mrs. Krinke has training, Mrs. Fontana now has training. And so we can really do restorative and really teach some of those processes. And I think that's really important. In the world we live today, we can't assume everyone goes home to a 2-parent family where there's just a lot of support and understanding and compassion and patience and all the things we need. Because I know even as a parent, I don't always have that every day, right? And so if we can give them that safe, supportive, and collaborative environment, HRS level 1, but then also teach what's the expectation, and this is how we do things here. Maybe not at home, but here, this is how we do it. We're setting them up hopefully for future successes. So the biggest, it's going to be no surprise, is the bus. And I think one of the biggest problems with that is when you don't have consistent drivers, right? Just like if you have a sub in the room, a majority, and you're rotating between different people, you know, every day of the week or every month of the year, you've got different drivers. Everyone has different expectations and patience levels. So that kind of summarizes some of that. I did snapshot for you also, Mrs. Fontana really has focused on, Mr. Marjorum's focused on, Mr. Johnson last year, attendance. We really do have good attendance here. We always want to make it better. So really when we're looking at attendance and chronic, K-12 is 28 families or kids. That's not bad either, right? So that means that a majority of our families are doing the right thing and are getting their kids to school. And they're here on time. And so I think we celebrate that as well. One of the things, the goal for the attendance team moving ahead will be to develop a handbook that again lays out if a kid's starting to be a tier 2 or tier 3 with a little bit more concern, what can we do about it? How can we family? And then lastly, we do talk about threat assessments, or families sometimes report their kids being harassed or bullied, things like that. In the elementary, I really only had 2 that truly were possibly a harassment or bullying that I did dig into a threat assessment to make sure everyone's safe. And of those 2, one was identified low risk. There were some things definitely should not have been said or done, and we addressed those. And the other one, no threat was found. And one was reported by like an educator that the kid had said something in the learning center, and the other was reported by a parent hearsay. Their child came home and said something from the bus, spent a lot of hours. That's not really what was said. And so anyhow, just so that you understand that we do follow through with those protocols, we file those reports, we do those things. And if someone says nobody ever does that, we do. And we do truly is that looking at next year, I know last year we were consistent about 357 in the elementary. Right now, as of the start of June, we're at 345. And we knew we were bringing in a smaller class and graduating out a little bit bigger one. In my opinion, and I don't get an opinion in the matter, we're right sizing things a little bit. A couple of years ago, I had to add another 20 lockers because I didn't have enough lockers in the elementary. We have a class that is 21 across the board in elementary, and that gets to be, those rooms are small. They weren't built for 20 some per classroom. And when they get smaller, they're actually supposed to take more space. And when they're bigger and they're bringing all their stuff, it is a problem. And so that's all my stuff. Do you have questions for me? So you can look at this in your time, and then if you want to call and have a conversation, you have questions, please reach out, okay? I just thought it might be a different way to go through it. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
yeah.
You guys can tell me how you want me to do this. I kind of have 2 separate reports. I have my traditional board report, and then I have my data report. If you want me to do my data report later, if you just want me to do it all together, I can do whatever is best for you. I know Paige had them rolled out, so do it all together. All right. All right, I'll start with my monthly traditional board report then. And then I'll explain to you my packet here of good stuff. All right, so just the June 9th traditional secondary board report. As Krista led off with her or ended with hers, I just started with mine. So you can see our projected enrollment for the 26-27 school year that's broken down. That's about the highest that I've ever seen. Just combined 6 through 12 upstairs. I mean, unlike the elementary, with a little bit more flexible stuff, we do have the room. I'm not concerned about those numbers or anything, but it's certainly just some of the highest ones that we'll have up there. And we are positioned for it. So like just 10 plus, and again, coming up from 5th grade into 6th grade and graduating 46. $215 kids is what we projected. So that's the first time I've ever seen that over 200, 9 through 12. So just want to kind of give you an update on that. But again, I think we're in a good spot. We kind of mapped everything out. We'll be able to handle that. I want to just kind of do my quick shout outs, just acknowledging our office staff, particularly Marky down there, and Paige and Carrie and Alicia and Stacy, just anything with graduation ceremony. That takes like weeks, months in planning, and they do a tremendous job in helping me and keeping my head on straight. And I thought it was another one, and just really appreciate the help that we have and just the attention to detail that everyone provides, and just making that an awesome and special day for our families. So thank you enough for that. And then also want to recognize Stacey Erickson too, for particularly, we got our summer institutes coming up tomorrow on Thursday, and has done a lot of work. We've done just managing a lot of things, just being kind of remote and just different this year, but Stacey's really taken that on. So just want to acknowledge some of the people that just behind the scenes have really been doing some fantastic work and pulling off our last institute probably here tomorrow. So a couple things I've just been working on, just scheduling. We're working a lot with Infant Campus. I know Mrs. S has really been taken on to, and myself, and trying to figure out the ins and outs of the new shift and new system, and transferring schedules from our old system into our new system, backing things up left and right, paper copies. So it's been quite the learning process. And now that we shifted into summer, just really trying to wrap my head around that even more. Just finishing up some reports, reviewing handbooks, getting some of our cognitive for strategy mapping. It's been the last couple of weeks, just really kind of wrapping up this year's work, but also preparing for next year's really kind of been a couple big things. And just some of those details. We had our first one of our pharmacy techs, already thinking of the 26-27 school year. We had 11 learners in here last Wednesday, two Thursdays ago. We had 11 kids. That was awesome to see. Angela CS, Essential were out here. Parents were out here, just kind of literally laying a good foundation for work. So that as we kind of kick that inaugural class off, and like I said, our summer institute that's happening tomorrow. Last check, we had about 299 people that were registered. So we'll have a full school out here. And again, just recognizing our custodial staff, grounds crew, just really getting the building ready for that. And just everyone who's had a hand in that. And then just next week, I'll be out in Chicago with part of the Carnegie Summer Institute, along with Mrs. Ed, Mrs. Todd, Mrs. Sabrick, and Mr. Bush, as we continue our work, laying our work with our competencies and kind of a framework developing for the future. So that's just a little bit what I've been diving into. I will then transition to my data piece here, very similar. So I provided everyone a packet. I'll just explain real quick. Like Mrs. S, the first part is just, there's a lot of information today, so I just wanted to summarize that up. That's the first one. And then the second item is the actual board report itself with all the data. I'll go through that, just the one right there. And then the back page that I provide was, I forgot to include some of like the numbers comparisons between the North Dakota State Assessment. So this is just an addendum, so it's the same stuff, but just wanted to make sure you had all the proper information. Okay. So into the first part, looking at our data right now, just our traditional benchmark data found on page 3. You guys probably recall the old red, yellow, green, just kind of where it is. Looking at our goal is to move everyone, as Mrs. S always said, the green. That's where we want. We want our high numbers. We're always kind of aiming that 80% of our kids who want to be in that green. So as the year goes by, from fall, midwinter to spring, we're hoping to see that shift. Usually, like particularly in our upper grades, you don't see as much shifting like it's probably down in the elementary. We had some kids, like a lot of classes kind of stayed the same. We saw some moving out of the red into the yellow. But said at the end, we kind of traditionally started seeing like more of a lot of kind of staying in place. And that's common the older that you get. It's just you don't have as much large of those movements, but there's always still room to kind of close the gap. So had a good strong percentage throughout the year. We saw particularly at the middle school level, reading was particularly strong. Math results still continue to be very, very strong for a traditional benchmark throughout the year, both at the middle school and the high school. And again, just kind of separated the schools found on page 6. We use 2 different programs, our AIMS and our STARS, so kind of 2 testing platforms. But again, still trying to get into those tiers of that 0 to 20, 21 to 40, and then 41% onward is what we view as proficient for a midwinter benchmark, and that's that green level. So again, a couple of those things that we're always looking for: how do we get our kids out of the tier 3? How do we get them out of that red? Now, there's always we have those different levels. We've really revamping that with Mrs. Fontana coming in this year. She really had a great look. Going into this year, we knew we needed to revamp our secondary MTSS, our intervention process, and we have a really good piece in place. We just talked about this yesterday about how do we form our teams? How do we do communication? How do we intervene earlier in the moment in those classrooms? So it's not like down the road or weeks down the road, how do we help this? Try to be more upstream, more up thinking with that. And so we have a really kind of positive plan in place. And again, I'll give Mrs. Fontana all the credit in the world for that and having a nice vision and really trying to reduce those numbers. I do. Yeah, math is, yeah, everything is like really, it was just steady. I will say that this year I was, our freshman class, really kind of probably not where it was we have traditionally seen our freshman class, perform like at their end of the year. And again, that's that kind of that trickier, that transition piece between 8th to 9th grade. And we've seen that it's kind of been a trend part with it, but, you know, there's just a lot of transitioning that's going on from that year, just figuring a lot of things out, high school and starting things to know things matter, trying to get testing serious as well too. So those some of those things that we're working through and just making sure that we have. But again, the goal is to still kind of make sure that we have, you know, kids moving and support and intervening at the proper time. Page 9 and 10, like I said, this is just, these are our assessment trend lines. We really maybe got to use better colors with it, but you can see kind of like just where we're at, like over the growth of time. We've talked about like a healthy system. When we start looking at like math and reading scores throughout going back to 2021, 22, when I started kind of documenting a lot of this, you know, we are starting to see some consistency though. You know, scores have been fluctuating up and up every year, and you can see the differences where kids are scoring between fall, winter, and spring. So again, certainly can take a little bit of a dive into that as well too. All right, I'll shift to our North Dakota State assessment results. That's going to be found on pages 12 and 21. And in your packet that I provided right here, you'll see it on the second page. It's all highlighted yellow. So the state, as Mrs. S said, did release information out just a couple of weeks ago, and they sent out an official one kind of like yesterday. So I kind of just summarized like that statement and just kind of put this for what you guys need to know as well. So you have that information, explains a little bit what they happened. And again, yes, it was mainly kind of like a 6 through 8 is where they kind of found the math assessments to be the like a little bit of their screw up on their part going back to the 24-25 school year. And then they use that data kind of set the place for 25-26. And when they were doing the review, that's where they kind of noticed like the results are a little bit off. And they also found that too with ELA. And it was really, really interesting because when our ELA scores came out, our particular middle school educators and supervillains, there's just something off right about this. It just doesn't feel like, you know, the prep and all that. And so there's maybe like a little bit of validation to it, but just wanted to make sure that you guys all have that information as well. So just understand this looks at, I sent everything out. Parents, all those results are sent out in the mail. We don't really know right now. We haven't gotten anything. They're not releasing anything out to the public as they're going to review everything and kind of go through, and they're pushing everything back for the release date. So just wanted to make sure you have it and just explains a little bit of what we got. So you have that information, and then we'll have to figure out between Miss Ines and I, like, how do we want to communicate that out and how to identify, like, that's still up in the air at this point as well too. But I did include them as well. You can see again, pages 12, if you want to take a look into them. And I'll just kind of point out what my additional handout was just making sure that and I do apologize for not having it all together. It was just there. So you'll see that you can see the state comparison like on the top. It gives the state and then where we're at, where our kids are at, fell when we look at where we fall within the state. So again, you can kind of dive into that. You know, they have the 4 different levels, level 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, we're kind of like in all our categories, very solid. You know, we stack up pretty much above everything. I think like level 8 ELA was probably like one of the more areas. I know Mrs. Breland took that pretty hard, but also knowing that we now may have some discrepancies on that as well too. So just kind of digging into that, but yeah, so you can certainly go through that and kind of look at those results on your own. And then getting into kind of our pre-ACT. So I want to share this as well too with you as a board. So on page 23 and 24 of our book right there, I did include kind of tracking more and more of this info right here. So this year, our ACT, pre-ACT, our juniors, we had 43 out of the 46 took the ACT that we offered here on site along with the pre-ACT. This is the second year where ACTs are, it's not required. Kids can certainly opt out. For the previous years from 21 to 24, that was the state NDSA essentially for high school at the junior year. So this data, you know, more and more, we're going to probably see kids taking the ACT less and less. I do believe so. So it's tough to say like this is a measuring stick just because it's more of an opt-in, but it's still, I think, important for us to look at and just see and utilize the data that we do have as far as what are our kids getting, what are they understanding, and how are they applying that when it comes to like college readiness as well too. So you can see on page 23, I included our summary data for our ACT data. Right at the top, 25, 26, our mean score this year was a 20.8, which the previous year was a 21.9. So a little bit of a dip by 1 point across the board. And then you can kind of see our previous scores. And then I also included that data from 2020 to 2024. That's when that data, when every junior was required to take the ACT. So there's been that shift, and that's something that the state went away. On page 24, you can see that's the pre-ACT data. So that's given to our sophomores. Again, that is optional, but we do cover the cost. We've been paying for that, try to, you know, make sure, give everyone an opportunity to do that. I do think that's a powerful piece. And you can see that this year our mean score was a 19.1 on the composite score, and that was a drop from about 20.3. So a little bit of a dip, but that's always a shocker for a lot of our sophomores. It's a big one, and they know kind of what they have to kind of prepare them to get their last 2 years of getting ready for it. And again, I put the comprehensive pre-ACT data from 2021, 2024, just for reference comparison, just to give you that. But again, that's going to be data that will be probably fluctuating in and out depending on the number of kids, as not everyone is required to take it. All right. On page 25, then, just kind of breakdown of the secondary information when it comes to disciplinary. Kind of looking at the trend data as well, too. This year, total of 167 logs, and I will emphasize, just like what Mrs. S said as well, too. You know, we have close to about 85% of our kids that do not have any log entries in the secondary, which again is a reason to celebrate and recognize that we do have, you know, like typically any school, we have our problems where it is, but a lot of our kids, they do what's asked, they do it soon, you know, they follow what the expectations. So I did provide a breakdown of kind of where our entries were at, and with our different levels as far as like, you know, the numbers of violations. You will see that our level 2 at the secondary, a lot of violations, and that's kind of our typical piece where it is. And I will say, just like far as like when I look at the data, our growing concern is just around the AI usage. When we spiked from 28 this year, I went back the last couple of years, the highest that we had was about 5 or 6, you know, at different times, but the 28 was a lot of it's coming from our middle school and our high school, especially our freshman level. When we start looking at it, when we just meet with kids, they're like, yeah, I just got behind. You know, I kind of resorted to using AI. A lot of it, they're honest, they get it, and you know, we have a process to walk through. But that's just something to keep an eye on. As we have more and more usage, but it's also more of a philosophy piece that, you know, we're shifting away. We're not going to be having Chromebooks going home from 6, 7, and 8, but it's also trying to like educators kind of have some reflection as well too. There's just so much opportunity out there for kids right now. Like, how do you accurately assess what they know? So that's just something that I'll share collectively, like with our staff, and we'll kind of come back and just reflect upon that, because that's a number. But we're seeing it. Kids now in the upper elementary, you know, middle school, they're using AI. They know how to use it, and it's tough. And as educators and staff members, how do we accurately know where they're at? And is it's also a tool that they need to use at some point, but how do we model it responsibly? How do we carry that through? So I just wanted to kind of share that. And then just kind of looking at some of the other ones, you know, level 5, haven't had a level 5, a couple level 4 levels. And I just also want to highlight just our use of Deputy Nedstead as well too. When I talk about like there's 5 instances, that's not the only time, but like that's where I'm bringing her in from an official capacity. Like there's something that has been broken, so there's a citation that's issued, there's like a report that needs to be issued. Those are kind of like what I factor in, but there's also many other times where she's used, as Mrs. S said, like when it comes to like a restorative, the educational piece. I'll often utilize her, have a conversation. I'll reach out to parents first, say, hey, can I have Deputy Nedstead meet with your learner just to explain a little bit about the severity, about what could happen. So like she's used in a lot of restorative pieces like that as well too throughout the year. In just different parts and just helping to assist and just adding another layer. Because yes, I think education is a big piece, and especially she has a really strong relationship with a lot of kids and a lot of families. They trust her off of that. And that's helpful. It's just knowing that, hey, if you continue this down this path, there's going to be, this is what could happen. And so she's used in many other ways, just like, not just don't see the 5, like just wanted to offer and just provide some clarity about like how she's utilized in that role, what she does out here on a day-to-day basis. It's very helpful as we try to provide and guide kids on making the right decisions. And then just talking a little bit over bulletin reports. This is another one as well too, because as Mrs. Ed said, I would agree with it. This is what we hear. So like, we do have our electronic bullying piece report. This year I went through, we had 41 that were filed. And I will say that, you can kind of see that 29 in the middle school. And what we found out is we have to have a little bit of a more conversation with our middle school kids that turned into like, this person is looking at me wrong. This person is, it just became another way to report.
Typical.
So it kind of became where Mrs. Fontana and myself, we go through everything. We talk to kids where it is, and we try to guide them like, this is where you need to go. I mean, we're glad that they're reaching out. We're glad we're having that, but it's also like, probably we have to redesign that a little bit this year and do a better job saying like, this is when you need to file versus where can you go to seek help. So I just wanted to include that and just say like, it's being addressed. So we do hear things like, well, there's bullying, we have opportunity, we look through it, we have our chart, we document it all where it is. And like, sometimes, yes, it does confirm, like I confirmed 4 cases this year where I could actually say, yes, bullying did occur, but it's just an opportunity for where we can start and to go through. But when you look at the breakdown, like that's how it was broken down. You can see that there was 5 learners reporting on staff, and just when we bring them in, they're like, well, so-and-so kind of maybe like, I didn't like how that's like, that's not a bullying issue. That's so you need to go have a conversation, or like, how do we resolve that differently? So just so you have that information, if you hear that in the public, in the community. And then the last part is just our choice ready data. I think this is an important one. This is Todic. She files this with the state. We're required to do a choice ready data. And it's interesting just to track as we're getting every kid ready, like whatever they want to do, not just a 4-year college, it's not a 2-year college, military, workforce, forever, tracking those skills. And so we have to file that. And this year, we are at choice ready at 89.3 overall. I know Mrs. Todic, her goal is to continue up and up. Military, she's been really trying to work on that military life skills ready, think about different ways, different opportunities to bump those numbers. But overall, we had about 89.3% of our graduating class of 2026 that met the criteria, down from about 91.2 last year. So we're close, but we've been hugging that trend line ever since. And I'll give a lot of credit to Mrs. Todic and her vision as well too, about just thinking about how to continue to get our kids ready, different opportunities in different ways. So that's a little bit of a breakdown, and I'll echo again, Mrs. S. A lot of information's there. If you have time, please go through it. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation to help interpret any data that you may have any wonderings on. Do you have any questions for me? All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm gonna piggyback just a little bit off of what the 2 of them has said. So with the cut score with the NDA plus, now that we changed, and if Levi gets elected today, changing state superintendents, he's not a big believer in our proficiency, the average of the NDA plus to be at a 40. He wants that cut score to go higher, where a 60 or 70 is going to be proficient. So, or sort of the state averages in the 60s and 70s, not in the 40s. North Dakota has one of the most grueling cut scores in the nation. as far as their state assessment goes. And he doesn't want to lower expectations, but he wants to kind of rate that a little bit. So that's one of the things that we'll be watching for and looking for in the future. The other thing that both of them said, Krista said, right sizing in the elementary. And Doug had said that the high school is the largest he's seen it, which dropped our middle school down 11 less than last year. I was on a Zoom call and I was visiting with the superintendent in Massachusetts. And we were talking about grants and enrollments and all that. And he said one of his biggest pieces, I'm just going to plant the seed because we're going to talk more about this at the July board retreat. But he's future proofing his school district. And I think that's kind of a term that we need to take a look at. We probably do have a little bit of drop in enrollment coming. And I've always mentioned that now the 9th grade class, the two largest classes are 8th grade and 9th grade. And we need to future proof this as far as financially. So that'll be one of the pieces that we'll talk about at the board retreat. So just a couple piggybacks off of their reports, and thank you for those reports. Nice job. For me, the easy school pay, this month we were at $21,150.85 off of 253 transactions. So rightfully so, down a little bit over the summer, which is going to happen. Our transportation, it's going to end at this for the year. We took in $30,595, and again, Paige had budgeted for 25,000, so we did increase. There's only a couple families that harassed, and there's one family that still, I think, will make a couple more payments. But other than that, we probably had about 95 to 98% participation in paying that. And most families are very understandable, especially with now when they start watching the news, and Grand Forks is going to charge everybody to ride the bus, no matter in district or out of district. So some grant updates. These are some big ones. So the villages gave us a quote of $70,000 for next school year is what we're going to have to pay to have our case managers out here, and which is it's a $20,000 jump from this school year. So a couple of big things. Amber and I went and presented to get that $50,000 United Way grant, and we're just waiting. They should let us. We should hear about that at the end of June here. And then I also applied for a $20,000 grant from the Brigham Foundation to see if they'll give us anything to cover that $70,000. If we can't, there's some things that we have to do differently, more than likely. We'll probably have to cut back a day or two with the case managers coming to Northern Cass. That doesn't mean they won't service our kids. Our kids are going to have to go to Fargo, but it's something that it's not budgeted in the general fund or anything like that. It's strictly grant-based funding. So fingers crossed with that, we will be able to come up with that $70,000 through those two entities. Rural Cass, Cass County Career Tech, Northeast Education Cooperative, 2 meetings in July, and then the next meeting with the Southeast Education in the fall. Committee meeting actions, we will have teaching and learning. We'll have the second reading of policies. And that was about it for that. I do have we're having a trouble finding case managers with the village. So we had 2 interviews.
Nexus Path.
Or Nexus Path. We had two interviews 2 weeks ago. We were supposed to have an interview last week. That person bailed, and we were supposed to have 2 interviews today. One of the person bailed. So we have 1 interview today to find a case manager with Nexus Path. And then things I'm working on, consolidated app. There's a deadline at the end of June for that, but the federal government hasn't opened that up. We did submit our intent to apply for it, but they haven't opened anything up to apply for yet. So wanted to make sure that I wasn't forgetting anything. So I talked to Mike Bitts and Rob Leck yesterday on that, and they informed me that you gotta just sit and wait. So that's what I'm doing. Personalized Learning Institute tomorrow on Thursday here at the building. I will be at Bismarck on June 16th through the 18th for the NDCL Summer Conference. And then I am going on vacation with my wife, June 26th through July 6th. So. Any questions?
All right. Well, since you're, why don't you tell us about the board member orientation plan?
Oh, yeah. So that was more of a, I have some pieces to put together for a plan, like, for an example, the strategic plan, have a discussion on governance versus management, reviewing the policies that we think, and just the board policies in general, reviewing that. Working through the budget, having that conversation with the new board members, talk about the evaluation system for the superintendent. And what else would you like? What else do you think is important? I guess that question kind of throws back to you guys a little bit too. A conversation about what board members do versus what superintendents do. I guess I have that on the list as well. And you don't have to come up with anything.
Yeah, be on the spot right now.
Just shoot me an email if you think of something more. I talked to, again, Mike Bitts, Rob Bleck, and they're gonna send me, they didn't have time yesterday, but they're gonna kind of send me some stuff, what they do with their new board orientation as well, just to get some. Yes.
It might be good to have something in about if someone reaches out, that chain of command.
Chain of command, yeah, very good.
Being more smaller district, people like to jump over a lot of people in the protocol. And so I think that's really important. And then also being visible. Educators want to see you in the building, so you actually know what's going on, so you can speak to that. And not just maybe at a ball game, but if you want to come in and see, especially your new people, come see some classes, come see what's happening, show up at, event and just really ask the questions and try to understand. So I think coming from our educators or whatever, they would value that.
Thank you. Another piece I put up, transportation is another piece to understand our situation.
Right, the busing situation. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I think those are all good topics. Is there any resources we can draw from the school board association prior to I know they have to go to the thing in October by law, but draw that prior to.
That's what I'm working on.
Yep.
Trying to come up with.
All right, sounds good. Anybody have any?
And obviously if Lori gets rehired.
Well, we'll probably make her go on October anyway.
Or re-elected, I don't know.
Yeah, there you go, rehired.
All right.
But yeah, if you think of anything else you'd like me to add or research to share with them, please share with me.
Thank you for that. On to committee reports. Let's do buildings and grounds or budget and human resources first, and we'll circle back because there's action to take on teaching and learning.
I can do budget and resource real quick. So went over, talked about the general fund 25-26 budget. And the actuals, talked about the supply budget review. The other thing we talked about was our substitute, which kind of got blown out of the water, usually by maternity leaves. So not much we can do about that, but something that we're gonna have to look forward to, because I think we're probably sitting in the same boat for the upcoming school year. So that budget we'll have to watch and maybe figure out how we can work that out. So we went over next year's budget, looked at all that stuff. Talked about insurance premiums through our union, the company we're with, and we're going with the 9.97 increase rate page. So dental's only 3%, so that's a great thing, but everything else is almost 10%. Well, it could have been up to 18, right?
Just the health, right?
Just to health, yeah.
Yep, just dental and health increased and then everything else was a hold.
So, and then, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a benefit fair, will be held on August 17th for all employees to hear from the vendors so they can come in and they have questions and they can ask them directly and get the answers right there that day. So. Then we talked about, like I said, there's two cracked windows that need to be replaced. We discussed the replacement of the shingles, talked about that. Todd's report. Working on summer projects, we went through the activity funds reviews. The question balances on some of the activities, like for an example, with volleyball, we got like 30-some thousand, wrestling's got like 35,000. That's quite a bit of money in these accounts.
And their fundraising accounts.
Their fundraising accounts. So we don't know if there's a way that, or we need to sit down and figure out that we've got to have a max number in those accounts. And then talked about like the telethon, the phone-a-thon thing. Probably just doing that as a activity or athlete wise, all sports, and then dividing it up. So it's a one-time deal, one time a year, or wherever we decide to do, come up with that policy. So track jerseys, they're a little bit different than the new ones got. So I don't know if there is a discrepancy, if it got messed up. So they're gonna look into those. Then we talked about a little bit about the shingles. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then Zealand School is closing down in North Dakota. So there's a couple of buses down there that we're looking at. I don't know, did you put it?
We did, no,
Okay,
no, we did,
okay.
we're not.
More and more I thought about that. I think we're better off.
Yeah.
I didn't do
Yeah.
it. So they had a couple, give you a quick review. They had a minibus and then they had another 28 passenger bus, which is probably a big bus for them, but it's a small bus for us. But the minibus had like over 130-some thousand miles on it. So we've gone down that road before and then we just decided not to do that. So
And the minibus would have needed a TDL, right? It had like air brakes or
the
something.
28, the
28.
20 passengers, you'd have to have a CDL. You can't just drive.
Kind
it
of
out.
not a size that we're
Right.
interested in.
We talked about how to utilize the essential health money. Kind of threw out there that maybe having another big Jag bus. For your activities and things like that. Keep the one we obviously have, just adding an additional one for that to help offset that. So. That's what we got.
Grounds?
You bet. We looked through the building fund, where we're sitting. We have a little bit left over, but I'm sure we'll find use for that. Lagoon pumps, we looked at maybe replacing or rebuilding them. They were gonna come back and take a look and kind of reassess those, make sure we didn't have anything fail during school. Nathan's in touch with them. We talked about the Jag bus and needing some work on it, replacing the other Jag bus or getting rid of
Medium one.
Medium Jag.
And then just the all-around issues, some with like tires and stuff. And the discussion was had to have a DOT officer from the state patrol come and have a meeting with the drivers to assure them that the walk-arounds are worth it, not to pencil whip them, and that what to look for. Maybe we don't have that information to them and we should get them caught up on that. So I think that's a good idea. Possibly help us out on some of our issues that we have with our buses once they get on the road. Talk about replacing some of the buses, some of the older ones with higher miles. Yeah, we got a few of them. I don't know, the 12.9 we'll be getting rid of, and then move some of the other ones to spares. We're kind of working with that South Dakota. We're
Yeah,
locking
yep.
one down. It's
Yep,
ready to
there's
go.
one lockdown.
Yeah, so it's an ongoing project. Nathan had a report. He's working with some builders to get the door out of the bus barn for the bathrooms fixed up for this summer. If, at the latest for football for sure. Getting ready for the personalized learning and then, looking for some input on things for like the Iwan Johnson grant that comes up now in the fall, the next application. Things that maybe we could utilize that grant for. If you got any ideas? Like we had that other one that we're gonna for the mental health, but
Yeah, and and we do get money from Iwan Johnson
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
And that's applied to us mental health piece too, isn't it?
But, well, if you apply for the mental health, then yeah.
Yeah.
So some of the things we talked about, the roof project that Sean kind of alluded to, we decided to go with the class 3 shingles because the class 4 just didn't have the insurance, no insurance break on it. And for the cost, we weren't getting the value that we thought we were going to get out of it. So we stuck with the class 3. Picked out a color teak, I guess, if you know what that is. It's basically like what we got. So it's nothing new.
It's a little bit darker.
And we're going to talk to the contractor and make sure that it's vented properly when he finishes. I think that's one of the problems he was looking at that we had. The auditorium seating, we got the company coming out, take a look, see if some of those issues, we've had some tears and some loosening of bolts, the way I'm understanding it, right?
Mhm.
And they're gonna look to see if that was warranty work, we could get that done. Also, there's a discussion that, getting used to the auditorium on a daily basis, maybe kind of causes those problems. So maybe something to look into in the future here. We already talked about the Zealand bots. We're not going to go forward with that. And then we've got 2 policy reviews with asbestos and district real property. If you guys want to explain that when we go.
Okay, Todd. So we have do we want to do a first reading of these?
Yeah, the 2 for the building fund there, I think we can do that first reading without the second reading. If you reference the policy. That BDA for just having a 1 read. And then we'll do the second reading of all the quarterly updates.
Because
Second,
right.
like a separate motion for the 2.
Yep.
Clear as mud?
Here's my. So the 2 that were in the building committee basically is just designating, the changes were to designate who was responsible for the asbestos management and also for who was responsible for the sale of property, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just designating the contact person basically in those 2 policies. So if everyone would have a moment to review those. Here, ready, we can make a motion to approve. Citing board policy BDA for no second reading needed.
Yep.
Also move. Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Further discussion around those 2 policies. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Gilbert,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Merch,
Yes.
Olson,
Aye.
Stefas.
Aye.
All right, and then the other would be to do the second reading of the policies presented at last month's meeting. The list is available in the agenda.
I will so move to approve for second reading of the following.
Look at that.
Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Gilbert,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Birch,
Yes.
Olson.
Aye.
Stefas.
Aye.
Harry, was there one other policy you were gonna bring?
That we're gonna talk about that in July.
Oh, July, okay,
Yeah.
right, thank you.
Yeah, that was that mileage one.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yep, okay, okay.
Right, then there is no unfinished business, so moving into new business. We have a transportation report available. Nothing out of the ordinary year over year.
The only like difference that we have this year is, they did that early childhood special ed. So that like during the day, we had a learner that was picked up in West Fargo. So that's reported under like a special ed mileage. And then we had kids that would get dropped off like at the Hunter and Arthur daycares. So there's more special ed route types they're called compared to prior years. So that's why like the vehicle capacity is quite a bit smaller in the runs. Because ECSE didn't operate Fridays and then like it started later and was done earlier just because it was like 3 and 4 year olds. They're not in our preschool.
Right.
Motion to approve the transportation report as presented.
Also move. I'll second.
Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Gilbert,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Birch,
Yes.
Olson,
Aye.
Stefas.
Aye.
And the next item would be to accept the NDSBA legal direct agreement at $195 an hour. Our current legal counsel that we've been utilizing, and they've both moved on from,
Disbanded.
they went to a different line of attorney work, so they're no longer providing that service to us. So we have no one as of right now. Right.
There's no like shopping around type thing because there's only probably certain people who do it.
Yeah, they did
They
list,
did provide this.
I can share that with you guys, like who this legal direct works with. Cause there's different parts of education law that they specialize in.
I will say this $195 an hour seems like a really good rate to me.
Okay, I have no idea what you're
I think my brother charges $300.
195 is good.
Running's expensive.
So
I'll second.
any further discussion or questions?
So they're basically on retainer for us and anytime we need
Yeah,
them.
yeah, and then they'll direct us to, if we have a Title IX, it will be this group if we have. So they'll get us to the people that are more qualified in certain special education areas.
What was our last one? Do we know what our lawyer fees were? I mean,
Right.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What it was with their own.
Just give me a minute.
We utilize them quite a bit, Jennifer.
We did.
You know,
It's nice to have them available.
well, absolutely. We have to have somebody because we're just sitting.
Yeah, just Google it.
Yeah, just Google it, yeah.
Just use the F.
This is what it said. I was just curious. I mean, we got a
285 an hour.
285.
Oh, so we're dropping a lot.
That's good. I mean, okay, that's all I have, Chris.
All right, did we have a second?
Yes.
Okay. All right, no other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Gilbert,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Birch,
Yes.
Olson,
Like,
Stefas.
Aye.
All right.
Wrong business, Chris.
Yeah, now you couldn't pay enough. No, well, maybe you could. Next item would be to continue on with our policy and web posting to the NDSBA, which we started down with our policy review. This would be the continuation of.
Yeah, so our next step is to send back all the policies that you guys have approved. I have to send all the board minutes. They have to review them and then they give us the access for it to be online. Yeah.
But it's better.
It's better.
Should be, hopefully.
Also move to approve the $1,500 per school year.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
So explain, what do we have to do now?
So
With-
I'll
with
put
those
all,
amendments? Why do they have to have those?
to make sure that we're following what they're recommending. For like what's included.
Make
Yeah.
sure we're actually doing it,
Mhm.
not just shoving it into a file.
Make sure you approved them and didn't miss any of
Take
them.
the steps. Well,
And then each quarter is when they send like updates. So we talked about like changing the teaching and learning would meet quarterly to review those. Cause there's really not like policy updates.
I think they kind of coinciding when they,
Mhm.
mhm.
And after a legislative year, there's gonna be a big,
Yeah.
there's usually a big dump every their legislative cycle. All right. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Gilbert,
Hey,
Johnson,
Right,
Birch,
Yes.
Olson,
I,
Stefas.
I,
Right, next item would be accept an open enrollment application for a level 7 previously enrolled. After a change of address, I'm assuming. Yes.
Yeah, it's a kiddo we've had since kindergarten. They just family moved. From West Fargo to Fargo.
oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the open enrollment.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Roll vote, please.
Gilbert,
hey,
Johnson,
Aye.
Birch,
Yes.
Olson,
I'm
Stefas.
Aye.
All right, potential dates for school board retreat, thinking end of July.
Yeah, I was thinking the end of July was, right before harvest and.
Yeah.
Pick a day. Pick a day. We'll do it in the afternoons.
Half day
That's
afternoon,
fine.
half day.
Okay.
We have new teacher orientation 28, 29, 30th of July, and we're thinking one of those days maybe would be nice, because then we would bring in we'd bring in the new staff.
Oh,
Everything so it'd be either a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday,
What is the date again?
28th, 29th, and 30th of July.
I'm out the 29th and 30th.
You're out?
Yep.
My suggestion would have been the 28th.
yeah, 28th works great for me.
I wrote one of my niece's wedding. They don't go on, it does.
Right.
And
And it would just be the afternoon. It won't be all day long.
right,
1 PM.
for
28th and,
Yeah.
Also
That
note a
works.
calendar and
yeah, thank you.
do we need a motion to set that date or not?
not yet, cause I will set the agenda before we really set it.
We'll set it at the next meeting.
And you're just doing 10, yeah, okay.
Perfect. Reminder that the school board election is today, along with other elections from 7 to 7. For most of us, I suppose the Arthur Community Center is the nearest, I don't know, but where are you?
Hot
Harwood,
pot.
Harwood,
Is there one in Harwood? Yeah.
Harwood and Arthur. And then we have our special meeting on June 22nd via Zoom to canvass the election results. What time?
7:30.
7:30. Okay,
Just, you sent the invite on for 7.
yeah,
7, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to change it, that's fine.
7:30, okay.
For what?
It's fine with me, because
To
I
do
just
the
looked on it.
Election canvas
And we're
results.
just doing that over Zoom, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
You just sent
7:30 is
out a
okay.
different invite then.
I'll just, yep.
Okay, thank
That
you.
works.
Because I'll forget Paige.
It should be 10, not even 10 minutes.
Right, but. You guys
we
have
might
to,
have some
right?
really,
that's not my fault, I would do.
Come again?
we might have some really contested results.
Yeah, I know.
All right, and then the last would be a motion to approve the general fund bills for the previous.
You will so move, pay bills.
I will second.
Was there anything normal? Think we ought
Go
to-
ahead.
It's not
Mhm.
abnormal. I just did like those big budgeted transfers to the activity, hot lunch and building fund. And then out some of those final reimbursement requests now that we have almost the last payroll, so.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Gilbert,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Birch,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Stefas.
Aye.
And then we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. 6 AM.